Thank you for joining us. I've been with Signpost for a little over a year now. My name's Morgan. I came across the company because I'm from a small town, so there's a lot of small businesses, and I have a lot of family members that own their own business as well. And I just found that Signpost was a really good solution. So, I'm with Laura as well, who has a very similar solution. So I'm excited to see how they might be able to work together individually for each business.
Yeah. Well, and I'll introduce myself really quick. So I am super grateful to be able to represent BELAY on this call, and that we get to partner with Signpost and Morgan and the team. BELAY lets me stick around. I've been here 9 years. I'm going on 9.5, and it's just been such a privilege. As far as my why, I just really believe in the values and the mission of BELAY and what we do, and the value add and life change we get to see. So I'm super grateful to be a part of that. Sat in what we call a client success consultant role, which is a coaching guide for our clients and contractors for several years. And then super grateful to sit in a seat where I get to lead a team internally of client success consultants. And so grateful to represent today and just talk a little bit about VA service line that we offer and just what we see works for our clients and also for potential clients that are figuring out whether this is a good fit for them. So thank you, Morgan, for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, no problem. And if you have any questions that come up throughout this, we'll answer them all at the end. So just add those into the question and answer section, and then we'll go through those once we finish up everything. But we'll get into the agenda. So we are first going to go over how companies are using third-party services like ourselves. And we'll also provide just some information that'll help you understand the state of the industry. Then we'll go through the differences between Signpost Live Receptionists and BELAY's virtual assistants. And then we'll wrap up with how you can increase efficiency with that and save money and stress. So all of the good stuff will be at the end there. And before we get into any of that, we're just going to do a little bit of background about each of our individual companies. And that way you know who we are too. So if you are familiar with either of us, you'll know that we can benefit just by automating some parts of your workday. And whether that be through managing staffing problems and struggling to deal with those issues that pop up, or if you're just super busy and need that extra hand, these are tools that can just help you be able to deal with that, and you'll get some value from some of this information as well. So at Signpost, we focus on a few different things, like getting found online, but another big one, and the one that I'm going to stress the most today, is winning that business and converting customers. So if you find that you're also interested in some other aspects, we can schedule a time to catch up after this too, and we can go through the full product. But essentially, we're going to help you manage those calls that are coming in and convert those callers to customers.
I love that. And I love that we also get to complement one another because, of course, Morgan, your organization serves a certain kind of service, and then BELAY offers something that complements that. So talking a little bit about what BELAY offers. So the easiest way I can describe BELAY is we're a remote scalable staffing solution. So we have amazing pre-vetted contractors. And so leaders come to us many times overwhelmed, overworked, trying to figure out how to stay in their lane and their giftings. And so we have an opportunity to pair them with really qualified contractors that we make sure intentional matches are made. And we'll talk a little bit more later in the presentation about how that works. How do you know if it's a right fit for you? So I'll save that for in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll start with the state of the industry. So it's stuff that I'm sure you're going to recognize, and you're probably feeling the impacts of this already. But we'll talk about business staffing, the cost of labor and attrition in America, and kind of what to expect in the future as well. So by having stats shown like this, you're getting a clear black and white picture of how extreme these problems are that we're facing. And they're going to have a pretty heavy impact on your business. So we know they exist, but at which lengths? Studies show that 38% of American workers say their company is understaffed. So this means over a third of workers are feeling the stresses of their company not having enough manpower to get things done. With that, 43% of workers whose companies are understaffed, they've considered quitting their job within the last 3 months. This is really important to understand if you are a business owner, because there is a risk to being understaffed that is more than the obvious, which is losing the employees that you already have. So 38 and 43% are some substantial numbers here. So to go hand in hand with these, I also wanted to mention, there is an impact of the pandemic as well. You're all feeling these effects, but how extreme are they? So since June of 2020, the compensation for workers has increased by 8%. Wages and salaries have gone up by 8.5%. And then the benefit cost has gone up by 7%. So obviously things are becoming more and more expensive for employers. So if you can find a way to provide for the employees that you have, but also cut the costs, this is going to be something you're going to want to look into and explore options with. A final thing I just wanted to mention is attrition, which is a term to describe the process by which employees leave the workforce. And it's becoming more and more common. So the rate of attrition will be at 35% by 2023. It costs 6 to 9 months salary every single time a business replaces a salaried employee. And the average cost to replace an employee is about $1,500 for hourly employees. So it's a serious problem, it's costly, and it doesn't really matter where you're located, it can still affect you.
So I'm going to tag team on the state of the industry conversation. And again, I'm thinking through the filter of virtual work and contract work, specifically to the virtual assistant world. It was new and kind of a newer thing back in like 2009, 2010. Now it's really, not that new anymore. There's a lot of organizations that offer this. Obviously, I'm super biased on BELAY, and I'll tell you why later, but this does give you a little bit of scope. Like there's a huge range of hourly rate when you think about US based, international, and then also there's a lot of factors that go into how much you might pay for a contractor partner as a VA. And so that could be dependent on scope of work, different packages, experience that a VA brings, as well as company offerings. And so that's definitely things that as you think about your personal needs and your organization's things you want to take into consideration. And sometimes, it's worth going a higher level as an hourly rate because of what you're going to get out of it. So we'll, again, talk about the value piece here in a little bit. A few things I want to acknowledge. So remote is here to stay. I think everybody would acknowledge that. COVID has pushed anybody that might have wondered whether virtual was something to pursue. I mean, we're here, and I think everybody understands it can work to your advantage. And so here's just a few percentages that I think were kind of some light bulb moments and have been some light bulb moments for folks. So the first one, 35 to 40% of increased productivity for someone who is remote versus in office. So that's a pretty compelling percentage. The second one here, 72% of employers claim telework or remote work has an high impact on employee retention. I think we're finding in the shift in the market, people are kind of needing this and asking for this more because, again, they know it works and it provides great balance into that work-life balance they're looking for. And then the last percentage is something an employer has to consider is the cost of healthcare when you have a W-2 employee, and there's a pretty healthy cost there for the employer. There's a lot of other things here that I won't go into, but there's a lot of other costs when you think about hiring somebody as a W-2 versus considering something like a BELAY option, which gives you scalable options with a contractor coming alongside you.
Yeah, and some common questions we just wanted to address, and they can even be misconceptions as well, are, the first few things are, this is my business. How do you have knowledge of my business? How are you going to handle these things properly? And you also may not want to give someone else that control. And that could be something that could set you back. But I will address this later on, that these are all customizable options. They're going to seem extremely personal, especially when you're comparing maybe the other option, which could be your customer reaching a voicemail. So another thing that we hear on the phone a lot is that business owners already have team members that are completing some of these tasks, but this could cause inefficiencies on your day-to-day, and you may not realize that it's causing maybe that team member not to concentrate on their main job as well. With that being said, virtual is here to stay. Virtual support can be daunting if it's something that you haven't really tapped into yet, and you could consider the fact that it could get expensive. But in reality, when it comes to it, you're going to save a lot of money with these options. And once you have the proper support with systems like BELAY or Signpost, you're going to be set up for success. So it's not something to be concerned about.
What Morgan said.
And then when you're thinking about a live receptionist versus a virtual assistant, they can almost sound pretty similar right off the bat. And you might be wondering to yourself, what's going to make more sense for my company? And it could be a mixture of both. If you're aligning with both of these, then you could be using both systems. Or if you're just finding that, with the live receptionist service, it's more so to manage those incoming calls that are coming in. So like I said, replacing that voicemail is going to be essential for you as a business owner. So screening and qualifying those leads, making sure that we are that extension of your team. We're not just a message taker. I know when, you hear the sound of answering service or receptionist, sometimes you think, all right, they're going to take my name and number. It's not personable, and I'm not going to hear back from them in 3 days. That's what I think of when I think of the businesses that I've called that have had that. But what's nice about Signpost option is it's customizable, and I'll dig in how that works later on in the slides. But something else is you're never going to be in the dark with these systems. You're going to get immediate notifications. You're going to know exactly how we're handling those calls that come in, and you can provide your own feedback as it goes as well.
I love that so much, again, because it's something that we don't necessarily offer. So I love that collaboration that we're unpacking here. So love that. From a VA standpoint, again, to complement what Morgan just shared with Signpost, the VA role, we have some very specific things that we obviously excel in, but I would say there's a little bit more broad reach as far as what we can uncover and help a client with. I've listed here several of the top things that we hear clients come to us and ask for help with. But I mean, I could show you a list 3 times as big as this on just things that a VA can uncover. So what I like to say is if something falls within your information and capital or your relationship capital, those are things that should fall with you, right? Those are things that only you can really drive and influence. But if it's things that don't fall in that category, I really encourage potential clients, current clients to think about what should I be delegating, whether it's to a VA or really others on your team, to make sure that you are staying in your sweet spot. And so again, these are just some of the things that our virtual assistants thrive in and really seek out to make sure that we're removing to add quick value to the relationship, but then also thinking long-term, what else could we be doing beyond what's currently in front of you?
So to dig in a little bit further on the receptionist services, we're not here to be your full-time receptionist, although we can be. We have some companies that come to us that are reaching 2,500 to 5,000 minutes every month with us, but our average customer falls somewhere within this range on the screen. So we're here to essentially act as a backstop and make sure that you're not missing business opportunities just because you're busy and you can't get to the phone or don't want to pick up the phone. So we can be pretty flexible when it comes to call volume. So when it comes to your different packages, there are different services that are offered from other companies, but it's a blanket flat rate. It's not customized to your call volume and your needs. And this is where Signpost is going to be a little bit different. So if you have questions about where your business may fall in these categories, we can schedule a time to chat after this and just assess the call volume that you have now and just see what makes the most sense for you. Then to dig into the receptionist service itself. So when a call comes in, you can either have your lines transferred all the time, or it'll come into you when you're unavailable. Instead of that voicemail, we'll pick it up. And we have a live person that's going to pick it up. So they're all US based. They're going to help you qualify the leads and make sure, it's a job that you want or can take. And then they're also available in hours that you may not want to pick up the phone. So if you're trying to enjoy a baseball game on the weekend or a family dinner, you don't want to have to worry about that extra stress of making sure that your potential customers don't reach a voicemail. So we can make sure that we're acting as that backstop for you. So we mentioned wanting to be a member of the team. We're going to customize a script for you, and then we'll make sure that it's authentic to your business using terms that you would normally use. And then again, you'll have that immediate follow-up to make sure it's being handled properly.
Morgan, can I add one little nugget here that I think, again, when we think about syncing up, just how Signpost and BELAY are so similar to this, the number 4 sounds like a member of your team, very, very similar on the BELAY aspect. It's like, we want to integrate so much a part of your team that no one knows the difference. Like, even though it's a BELAY person that's serving, when they're interacting with your vendors, your clients, whoever it is, they're a representative of you. And we've actually had a pastor that we served that people in the congregation would come and say, where's your VA? Like, where's Betsy? And this client would be like, well, Betsy is in a whole nother state. Because it was so seamless. They felt like they knew her and she just made it so seamless. So I love that value is so similar here. So I just love that.
Yeah, definitely. We had a similar story with one of our Signpost businesses that we work with. They called into our customer success team and said that they had a review that was left online. And it basically said that Amy in the office did a great job handling calls. And he kind of took a second back and was like, I don't know who Amy is. I don't have an Amy in my company. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe, you left a review for the wrong business. It happens. And then he listened to his calls and he found out that Amy was actually Signpost. So it's nice that it does integrate seamlessly, like you were saying.
Yep.
So with your onboarding, you'll have scripts that you'll go through. I'd mentioned just being able to tailor things. So if you're offering certain promotions, if you have certain services that you offer during maybe slower seasons, these are things that we're going to be aware of and be able to add into our call just to add that personalized touch for you. And then with that being said, you'll be able to provide feedback and change things as we go. So we know that your calls aren't always going to stay the same. So you'll have an account manager you can always reach out to and adjust things as you need to. And then I also wanted to just show some testimonials from customers that are working with us. So either Signpost solution or BELAY solution, they're open to any industry. So we've worked anywhere between legal to pest control. So these are just some examples of the broader industries that we could help with. So Kevin had said, people generally say I talked to your secretary as opposed to I got your answering service. With the way Signpost presents itself, it's an extension of my company, which is exactly what I want. And then Celeste said something pretty similar where we like the personal touch. There are just not enough people to handle the volume. We've had to adjust a lot of things to make things automated, but our customers are used to a white glove service. The experience is what it's solving for us instead of going to an answering machine. So just some other examples of real customers that work with us.
That's so good.
And then for anyone that is interested in how this sounds, I like to just add an example. Again, it's customized, so you can adjust this however you'd like it to, but this is how our example is. If you want to just play that, Laura.
Hi, thank you for calling Smith & Sons Landscaping. This is Casey. How can I help you today?
Hi, I'd like to get scheduled for seasonal service.
Perfect. I'd be happy to help get you started. What's your name and the best phone number to reach you?
Yeah, my name is Sally. My phone number is 492-8278.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I'll get this right on over to a team member, and we look forward to working with you soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
So that's the pretty generic version of the calls. You can really get into detail about certain questions that you always ask on the front end, and making sure that we're handling those so you don't have to give that call back at all. So it's really up to how your business would see fit for this. And then if Laura, you want to just move to the next slide for me.
Oops, I think I'm playing it again. Hold on.
There we go. We have different options. So like I had said, there is more to Signpost than just the receptionist service. And with that software side, you'll get access to messages coming in from different platforms. So that way you can just keep up with messages that are coming in from, let's say, Facebook or Google Chat. And then you'll have that portal to be able to access information from the answering service and what your usage is looking like for the month, and just be able to have that clear picture of what's happening.
Awesome. I mean, that's hard to follow up on, Morgan. You did great. All right. So let me talk about what is a virtual assistant. I would love to start first. I promise I'm going to leave you in suspense, but I promise to share a little bit more about what a VA does. But I want to start with BELAY as a partner first, because we are a service. So yes, you get an amazing contractor paired with you, but we love to see BELAY as a whole as a partner to our clients that are coming in. What does that mean? So I've already touched on, we have a pre-vetted bench of qualified VAs that are US based. We know that hiring can be hard and not everybody loves the hiring process. And so we love being able to carry the weight of that for you. That's our sweet spot and what we like to call the magic sauce. And so we end up having and owning that process on your behalf. The second thing I love to call out is we have a lot of contractors that we have onboarded and have part of the BELAY community. With that, they have a contractor community. So our VAs have access to many, many, many other VAs. So it's not if, but when we run into a little roadblock or hiccup, they can actually kind of what I like to call crowdsource and say, hey guys, I'm running into this. Have you seen this before? And how can I bring this back to my client as an option and solution? Great stuff. We also have resources. So we recognize virtual is new to some folks. We recognize that delegation can sometimes be a struggle. Communication best practices in a virtual space. And so we have built out a library of great resources that we have accessible, our VAs have access to, but also we provide to our clients depending on what you're navigating in the season of your business. And then the last thing is I'm super biased, right? Because I sat in this role for several years, but the client success consultant partnership, which is someone that never goes away. They're a key part in understanding what your needs are, your personality, your mission in the organization, your role, all the things, making sure that working with our placement team, we find a really solid match for you. And then they act as a coach, guide, and cheerleader every step of the way. So it's nice having that safe space and someone who is going to kind of always be asking what's next and how do we continue to add value and make it a win. So virtual assistant. So I tried to boil this down. I had a lot of words and I had to put this down in 3 bullets. The first thing is a VA's goal is to take work off of their client. Our clients have a lot of moving parts and we recognize that some of those moving parts are distracting and keeping our client from focusing on the thing or things that they should be focusing on and leading the business or leading their organization or team. So our VA's goal is to not just take what you initially handed them out of the gate, but continue to ask and uncover more so you get more time back. The second thing I would mention is we believe in serving the whole person. And so we recognize that yes, we show up at work, we have work goals and we have work initiatives, but a lot of our clients also have personal needs or things that some goals that they have set in their personal life, like being more present in their kids' lives, baseball games, gymnastic meets, more date nights. I mean, you name it. And so we love being able to say, what else can we do beyond just the work world that we can add value to your life? We love that privilege if a client will open up that part of their life to us. And then the last thing I'll mention, we're a big believer in relationships. And so the CSC is a relationship that we are bought into and really believe in, as well as a client getting to know and having a relationship with a virtual assistant. It's not a standoff type of relationship. If that's what you need, you're probably needing a different solution. We're in to integrate, go deep, and continue to just drive your success as a leader. And so the relationship piece is a big part of that. You're probably wondering, okay, what does this look like from a package standpoint? Tactically speaking, we have the lowest package is 30 hours per month. That's going to translate to about 7 hours a week-ish. 45 is 10 hours a week, approximately 65, 15, and you can see the tiers that go all the way up. I mentioned at the beginning, we're a scalable option. So a client might come to us and say, right now I only need 30 hours a month, but I could see in the next 2 months needing to go up to 65. Our goal is to vet a contractor that is excited and willing to grow with you and be scalable with you in your business. We also try to uncover what other things can we do to make sure that we're helping keep pace with the growth of your business. So we love that scalable option. And we think that's just another reason why even post-COVID, when you think about it, people have had to rethink just a normal 40 hour per week person. And this gives those options, which has been incredibly helpful. When I think about and explain the CSC role a little bit more, I've already touched on this, that you're paired with a CSC, committed to walk alongside you. And what I love is they're committed to your success as just as much as committed to the virtual assistant's success. So it's someone jogging alongside you to make sure that you both are really seeing the value and making great progress in the relationship and continuing to just ask what is next to continue to elevate you as a leader. And then the second thing is we love to ask the questions of like, where's your business going? What gaps exist? And so we can help uncover what additional ways BELAY could partner with you, whether it's additional service lines, which I guess I haven't mentioned that. So we have website, we have bookkeeping and accounting, and we also have social media managers. And so our goal is to just, if there's additional needs there, our responsibility is to help you uncover those needs and whether BELAY is the service there that would add the most value. I won't spend a lot of time on this slide because we've already kind of touched on this. There's a lot of things that BELAY VA can help with. This is not an exhaustive list, and that CSC role is a great starting point to continue to unearth what needs you have, what pain points you have within your day and within your business. And then of course that VA picks up that torch and continues to carry that on. There is onboarding. And so what I like to say is the more time you put in, the more you get out of it. And so when a client, or even when I've talked to someone who's like, Laura, I have interest in this. What does this look like for me to even start thinking about? The initial prep is just thinking about what should I be doing and what should I not be doing? Because you know you're going to have things that fall in both of these buckets. And then also asking the question, what zaps me of joy? What zaps me of energy? And what is something that is just, I'm not gifted in? That will help you really start creating a list of, okay, yes, these are the right things that I'm doing. And then here's a lot of things that should not be on my plate. How do I delegate this either to a VA and some maybe others on your team as well? And just to challenge that thinking a little bit. And then there is onboarding. So we consider a 90-day time frame. And so with that, everything listed here, systems access, information transfer. Yes, you have to communicate your expectations and feedback because our VAs are really, really good, but they're not mind readers. And so there's going to be a level of investment and then intentionally integrating them into your team, like Morgan and I were talking about, to make it seamless in every way that they are part of your team. I do want to touch on efficiencies real quick. Obviously, the goal is to give you time back as a leader. And I would go one step further in headspace. Sometimes like you don't even mind doing something, but it's kind of holding rent in your brain that really shouldn't be there. And so again, we want to try and take those off of your plate. Distracting work, same thing. And then lastly, our VAs love to identify and implement efficiencies. So the more, I would say, wiggle room you give and more leadership abilities for a VA to step in and really identify where there's efficiencies, whether it's your processes, your tools, communication, again, the more value you'll feel out of that relationship. And then real quick, just a couple real life wins from some of our social media posts. I think you can just see here that when you think about this one right here, Kim makes my life better. That gives me a lot of feels because we've mentioned we want to serve the whole person in work and in life. And I'm so grateful to share an example of that, in both of these examples. And then I guess we're going to talk about how you can save time. So I'll hand it back to you, Morgan.
Yeah, so as a business owner, time is of the essence, right? There's never enough hours in the day. So like we had said, we want to make sure that you're efficiently working those hours. So this day and age, people are expecting instant gratification. If they're calling in and they're reaching a voicemail, they're going to go ahead and move on to your competitor in the meantime if you're not getting back to them within seconds. So 78% of customers buy from that company that responds first, and we're going to make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks in that aspect. Also, something to note is that 30% of consumers inquire during off hours, meaning they're going to call when it fits their schedule, not yours, which a lot of the time, they're working throughout the day as well. Let's say they get home around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Your business is closed, they make that call and they're going to kind of move on. So we want to make sure that even if it's just after hours, you have that backstop to catch those leads as well.
To piggyback off the saving time, I stole my own thunder. Save time by investing time. I already used this tagline. Again, different solutions. So we're talking a little bit shift in, what we're going to be offering from a BELAY perspective. And I would say there's more investment and time that we ask of our clients, but again, it's well worth it. So the first thing I just want to lead with is we really coach into our virtual assistants to lead administratively. Again, that's through asking the right questions, driving what else question can I be helping with, and identifying the gap. So you're not having to carry all of that thinking energy and just all the energy to think of these things. With that said, the commitment we do ask from a client when they step into a VA relationship is to trust quickly and delegate. We coach a lot proactively on what delegation looks like. That takes some time of just really, again, doing that thought process of what to delegate. It takes time to share expectations on the front end, and it takes time and effort to share that feedback to know when we're hitting the mark and when we need to pivot. And then we mentioned integrating this VA as part of your team. So weekly touch point, just like a one-on-one with any team member. This is going to be key to make sure priorities are discussed, feedback, looking ahead. And so with that said, that investment of time will actually give you time back in the long run. So we're going to talk a little bit about how this can save money. So back to you, Morgan.
Yeah. So with thinking about any solution, you want to make sure that you're saving money as well. And like I mentioned, it almost seems like a more expensive option, but you actually save quite a bit with these numbers here, you'll see. So the average median receptionist salary is about $36,000 or more. And a receptionist service like Signpost ranges between $1,800 to $25,000, just depending on the call volume. Again, how many calls we're going to be taking in for you. And then that's going to save you around 39 to 181% every single year, which adds up over time. So think about the amount of money you could be putting into other resources or tools that you'd be saving with a system like this. So you can save money, but you also don't need to worry about those additional factors when it comes to hiring, a W-2, which Laura had touched on. So you don't have to worry about someone calling in sick the morning of, and then you scrambling to do, going to job sites and taking calls as well. So you have that reliable backstop.
That's awesome. How does this translate to a VA relationship? I love to lead with questions, and I'll probably start with the sub-bullet, like, what are you choosing to spend your time on? And when you, again, bucket out what you should not be doing, and you pair that with saying, what is my hourly rate? I have actually had a client on his own do this exercise where he took his salary and he figured out what that translated to be an hourly rate. And it was a pretty large hourly rate. And he realized he was spending that hour on researching flights and booking hotel and organizing email. And it was just such a light bulb moment for him. He's like, why in the world with my hourly rate, not to minimize what a VA does, but like why that helps really make the decision for me that what I could be spending for a VA partner just makes so much more sense financially. And then you're able to focus on the biggest value add type of responsibilities, whether it's growing the business, investing in the sales process, prospects, all the things. And then the second thing I would mention is giftings. I've actually had clients say, I cannot imagine handing whatever this thing, organizing Dropbox or organizing my inbox. Like, why would anybody love to do that? And I always have to remind, like, our, excuse me, our VAs love it. Why? Because it's in their giftings. It's how they're wired. Just like you're wired to maybe lead a team, or you're wired for whatever your giftings are, our VAs are wired for administration. And so there's absolutely, when you think about translating that to how long things take, people are going to be more efficient within their giftings. And so that's just a prime example here. And again, giving you the space to focus on the biggest value add for your business. Let's talk about stress, how to avoid it.
Yes, let's avoid stress. Let's take that weight off your shoulders. I speak with a lot of business owners. I remember vividly someone that told me that he spends his entire Sunday getting back to leads. And that's just a waste of your time. You want to be able to enjoy your weekends when you're out of work. You want to be able to have that reliability during your peak seasons. When you're with another customer on a job site, you don't want to have to worry about making sure that your phone doesn't reach a voicemail. You want to make sure that you're in the moment, you're doing your thing, and then someone else is handling that. So that's something that we can alleviate for you. And you'll be able to get that extra time, to enjoy the things that you like to do. And then with that being said, onboarding employees can be a very long process. And with talking about attrition in our past slides, it's something that may, you may hire somebody and they only stay with the company for 6 months and you have to restart this process all over again. So with our onboarding process, it's a little bit different. You have a scripting appointment and you can get live the next day. So it's not an extensive process in that aspect. It's pretty straightforward. And again, you don't have to worry about us, leaving you in 6 months unless, you feel like you have that covered after that.
Awesome. All right, stress and how do we remove it from you from a VA perspective? A lot of it is very repeat, like delegating work off of your plate, allowing a VA to lead, and giving them as much leeway as you're comfortable in giving them, because again, they're working within their giftings and are probably going to be able to thrive in that administration even more. Identifying efficiencies in process and workflow. This can be for you, and specifically even looking at your processes and workflow for your team. And then I already mentioned that how your business looks today probably isn't how it's going to look 6 months from now. And so your client success consultant, your VA, just asking the questions like what gaps exist, what hiring needs exist within your organization, even with other leaders or teams within your organization. We just want to be mindful of how do we keep up with that, because we've got the variety of service lines that we offer. And then also we've had clients continue to grow in depth with VAs because other leaders realized they need it as well. So we love being that partner alongside you to help you grow. All right, here's the big question.
Yeah, what's going to make sense for you, right? And maybe both make sense for your business, or maybe you're finding that you're just struggling with one more than the other. So the main things that stick out to me for someone that would need to try Signpost or a live receptionist service is if you're missing any call throughout the week. And I know maybe 2 calls may not seem like that big of a deal, but you have to consider the fact of how much that job could have been worth and consider that lost revenue in the end. So us saving 1 to 2 calls a week is essentially going to pay for itself in the end, and also alleviate that, time and stress that goes into it. So also, if you don't like to pick up the phone all the time, if you don't want to qualify and screen leads, deal with, those scam calls that come in all the time throughout the week, you can avoid those now. And you also may not want to take time out of your Sunday to follow up with leads or worry about work stuff. So this is going to make a simple process for you to work a little bit more efficiently, save some time, save some money. So those are the instances that usually stick out to me for someone that might want to try out something like Signpost.
Love it. So to ask the question, what makes sense as it relates to a BELAY partner? Like, how do you know when it's something you may need to explore? The things that come to mind, your task and project list is growing and growing and growing. And so that's one thing. Secondly, if you continue to be the bottleneck, that's very likely a sign that you need someone partnering alongside you to alleviate from you being the main point of contact for things. You're doing things that distract you from your primary focus. If you're feeling pulled in 100 different directions and you realize that the 2 or 3 things that you really should be focusing on are getting your, kind of your whatever's left of your energy and time, that's a very good indicator that a VA would be a great fit for you. And then you need help getting time back at work and at home. Again, we love to ask the question, what does this look like for you, and really drill into a solution that we're drilling this home and we're really giving you time back and allowing you to thrive at work and also thrive personally.
So yeah, just to kind of wrap up, we do appreciate everyone taking time. We know you're busy, and so we appreciate anyone that came to listen to us, and hopefully you got some valuable information from it. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or the question and answer section, and we can go through and answer those. But while you're doing that, we want to go through some offers that both of our companies are running right now. So I had mentioned that we have these receptionist services. We also have some other tools that can help you. And if you sign up for a demo and attend it, you'll get a $25 gift card. So you can meet with me, just scan that QR code, or you can send me over an email too. And then if you decide to sign up, you'll get a $100 gift card as well. So this is a really great offer considering we are month to month. So if it's something you want to try out, this would be a good opportunity to do it.
I love it. We also wanted to give something as, thank you for joining this and making it accessible to you as a leader that's probably figuring out, again, how to do all things leading teams and leading in a business. And so it really boils down to the more you can delegate, the more time you have to focus on the right things. And so there's a free resource here called Delegate to Elevate ebook. You can also use this code here using your phone. This is also the website that you can go to access that resource. But I would encourage you, if you feel like delegation is an area that you really do need to build that muscle up, I would love for you to check this out. Or even if you're just like, okay, I'm thinking about this VA thing and just need to really go through this exercise a little bit more intentionally, this is a great resource. And then also, selfish plug, through this part of the website or through this code, if you are actually like, okay, you convinced me, this is something I want to explore further, there is a way that you can, I think it's like talk to someone or whatever the next step is on this particular website to make sure that you can get that on the books. And we're happy to have that conversation with you as well. So I think we're just kind of thinking through any questions. Morgan, do we have any questions?
I don't see any. Michael, do we have any that I'm missing? If not, I do have a question for you, Laura, that might be worth just initiating the conversation.
Okay.
So when you talk about making the process successful and making sure that you're setting up your clients for success, what goes into the coaching and how are you proactive about that during the process?
I love that. Yes. So two things come to mind, and it boils down to the client success consultant role is kind of where it starts. So the initial discovery call that we have with an incoming client, it's obviously uncovering more about you. It's uncovering your needs, your personality, likes, dislikes, all the things that goes into the decision making a great placement for you. But the other bucket of that, it's also as much a coaching call. So what we recognize, a lot of our clients struggle with delegation. Like it's just hard to let go. So we love to proactively coach on how to delegate. We communicate and coach on how do you communicate when it's in a virtual space. So coach into that and trusting quickly. And then also, well, I think those are probably the main, and then integrating into the team, the value of that. So rather than waiting till you need to hear it, we're giving that proactive coaching and how do we go about doing this right from the get-go? And it's probably not going to be the last time you hear it from that client success consultant. The second thing I would bring up is we also coach into our VAs pretty intentionally on, again, what can we do to continue to just wow our client from day one and continue to ask the question, how do we add value? And so our VAs are partnering with us in that process. And so a VA also can just really put on that coaching hat and say, hey, client, here's some opportunities I see within our relationship and how that works. So those are things that, again, we try to proactively coach on and get ahead of, knowing it'll be an ongoing parts of the conversation and check-ins that we do. Great question.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that you follow people through the process, make sure that they're set up properly and good to go.
Can I ask you, do we have any questions or can I go? Because actually,
let's see. I don't see any questions on my end. If anyone does have any, feel free to throw them in there. We can also answer questions, on that separate time if you want to schedule time as well, one-on-one. But yeah, Laura, go ahead. Okay.
We've done such a good job, Morgan, explaining this, that's why nobody has questions.
Yeah, right. That's what I'd like to think.
So you touched on a little bit of just like the onboarding. Mm-hmm. So you've asked a little bit about like, how do we coach into quickly as people are coming in the door? How do you train your receptionists? Like, how do they onboard and how they even know what they're stepping into as it relates to serving your clients in this way?
Yeah, so they individually go through a very extensive process on how to be adaptable and make sure that, whether they're getting a call from a plumber or from a legal office, they're able to handle them properly. So that's part of their training that they go through separately, but then they'll also go through a training with your company too. So when you meet, you'll have a scripting appointment, we call it, which is where you'll customize just certain things that you hear on the phone pretty often and just how you want us to move forward with your calls. And then from that, you'll be able to actually test the call center before it goes live. So you'll be able to act like a potential customer, quiz us a little bit, see how we do. And then we can adjust the script where it's needed or if it's needed. And then we can go live as soon as the next business day. So although we can go live fast, we also do have your account manager who's always going to be there for you, especially in those first 2 weeks after setting up. We're going to make sure that you're on the right minute plan that makes sense. Calls are getting handled properly. And you'll be able to always, see that feedback as well on those transcripts that come in.
All of that.
Thank you.
I have one more question for you. Is that okay? We have time?
Yep.
Okay. So again, this is just different territory, right? So like when you think about calls being transferred from a client's line to Signpost, what's like the tactical steps in which that happens? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's like the flip of a switch, I call it. So click of a button. If you know that you're going to be taking a lunch for the next hour or you're going to be out of the office, then you can flip all the lines to get transferred automatically. Or what's nice and what a lot of people use this for is more so that backstop that I mentioned. So when a call comes in, it'll ring to you first. You'll be able to see that call and have the opportunity to pick it up. And if you're like, I'm busy, or no, I don't want to pick it up, then we'll go ahead, it'll transfer to us. So that's kind of how that would be set up. And it really depends on what you're using us for in that aspect. A good question. That was good one.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll wrap up here because it doesn't look like anybody has any other questions. Let me just double check this here.
Okay.
So if anything does come up after this, we'll have a recording too, and you can, look back through this and feel free to schedule some time to meet with us as well. But it was a pleasure speaking with you, Laura, and being able to talk with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day. Thank you.
Bye.
Morgan. Bye.